This is Shelley Kraft, and this is SNN Live. We're at the Hard Assets Rare Earth Investment Summit in San Francisco. By the way, this is their inaugural symposium. I'm here with Jeb Handwerger of Gold Stock Trades Newsletter, a panel member of their Rare Earth Element panel this morning. Welcome to SNN Live.
Thank you for having me.
I sat through that panel. I learned something. I know the audience learned something. What would you hope would be their biggest takeaway?
That this is, despite what the market's doing right now, that the rare earth sector is still the most exciting sector of our time. And it's something that investors need to follow because it affects our national survival. Where 100% of the heavy rare earths are coming from China, and this is our national security. Our Department of Defense requires these metals for our most advanced technologies and advanced defense systems. So it's something that it's a sector that investors need to focus on.
What would you say the sentiment in general of the panel was? Bullish or bearish?
I think that the two other analysts, I think one analyst was not into any rare earth stocks because he feels that the economy is going to go down and all commodity stocks and mining stocks will go with it. And the other investor, I don't think was in the rare earths as well. It's a contrarian play now. It's not a popular time. The position is the rare earth stocks are heavily shorted. The small little sector that our economy, our industry is dependent upon, has had an onslaught of negative news, negative media reports, and this has been in the interest of this heavily short position. And these, whenever you see a heavy short position like this, or when you see no short position. Well, like for instance, when a stock is running higher and you see no short position, that's a concern that we may be reaching a top. But when you see it decline, and when the shorts become heavily short, like we saw back in October 4th, the market was reached a point where the short sellers was the most heavily short position since 2008. What did we see? A reversal. The crowd is wrong at turning points.
Now, here's a contrarian opinion to your contrarian opinion.
Yeah.
I look when something is shorted. That's the only natural buyer in town. So when fundamentals change and the crowd comes in and starts to buy that particular equity, you can rest assured that it's going to be chased by guys who aren't necessarily interested in cost averaging up their short.
Right, and that's exactly what I see is going to happen. Some of these stocks have become thinly traded, and the short position is still very aggressive. When we do see a potential geopolitical event that may come out of China or export quotas for 2012, we may see, once these stocks start moving, a very powerful up move. When we saw something similar in 2010, many of these rare earth stocks rallied the second half of the year 400, 500%. They flew. And so this is...
that was short covering.
It was short covering and investors coming in. And when those two things work together, you see powerful up moves.
But you see, these stocks aren't mature enough to have underlying options. So you have to go the distance to put out a short on these stocks if they're done legally short through borrowing. I don't want to get too technical.
Right.
But from the standpoint that I'm watching this, these junior stocks shouldn't be shorted. I mean, you know, maybe they run up too far and you sell them off and they go down, you know, and the liquidity disappears in the stocks. You know, I can't see the kinds of short positions going in to these juniors as I'm hearing. And I got to tell you, I have a little bit of experience.
Right. And I know you have a lot of experience in the financial sector, and you've seen when you see these huge short positions, what happens when you start seeing a rally? There's parabolic rises, and some of these companies, especially the smaller companies that are making rapid gains and developments with their metallurgy, and they're beginning their preliminary economic assessments and scoping studies and feasibility studies. Some of these companies that are smaller and that are thinly traded are like an option. But without a time limit on it. You're investing in really an option. It's really an option in the rare earths.
I agree. But I will also add one more thing, if I may. My experience tells me that when you have a symposium like this and the word short comes out in front of people and it's being now recognized, that's pretty close to a bottom, my friend. I'm sorry to say. Hey, CEO gets up there and says, my stock is down because it's being shorted. That's one thing. But now you got experts telling me that there's a big short out there. That's kind of, to me, almost the most bullish information I could hear.
And that's one of the things that I'm seeing from this in this sector is that the average investor who's trading based on what they're seeing in the popular media and what the herd is saying they're selling out or they've sold out. The investor who believes in the long-term fundamentals of the rare earths and developing a supply chain outside of China and understand how important these elements are for our industrial end users, they're seeing this time as a great opportunity.
I agree with you. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeb Handwerger, Gold Stocks Trade. What is your website?
goldstocktrades.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, a young expert in his field, a wonderful panel member, very insightful, very informative. I want to thank you for coming on to SNN Live.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you.